On this week's video, this was actually purely a coincidence, but I had planned on watching the Mortal Kombat movies a while back, and I thought that they'd be a great addition to the Monday movies. And no sooner than I had started watching them that the trailer was released for the brand new reboot movie that I wasn't even aware of. So I guess this is just some really fun timing. But will they have any sort of continuity, or will this end in a fatality? Or maybe friendship?
After the success of the video game in 1992, we saw a big screen adaptation with 1995's rated PG-13 for some reason.
I mean, we know the reason, and it rhymes with shmoney.
We meet all of our major game characters like Liu Kang, Sonya Blade, played by 1990s babe Bridget Wilson. Jax is here, as is Shang Tsung and Kano, or Deep Rising's T-Ray. There's also action star Johnny Cage, and Gilbert shows up with a tabloid dated 1994, and it's a recent scandal, so that's most likely our year here. Connor McLeod shows up, as does Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and Scorp's got some really sketchy CG going on. And we learn that if Shang Tsung's team wins the tournament, then the evil Emperor will be able to invade our world, because he can only do so if he wins 10 tournaments in a row, and he's almost won 10, and seriously, who came up with that rule? Who is holding it to it? Couldn't he just cheat? Put a bunch of guys who can't fight up against Tsung in the tournament so it's an easy win? It seems like from earlier in the movie, Shang actually picks the fighters, so why not just pick like little kids or something? Katana is here, played by Talisa Soto, and Reptile is here, looking like a real thing. This is a real thing that is in this environment.
Aren't you convinced?
Sub-Zero does his thing.
Flawless victory.
And then Goro's here, actually looking pretty cool. There's fights.
Fatality.
And more fights. And you know, it's funny because the soundtrack felt appropriate in the 90s, but now it kind of just feels so ill-fitting in every scene. Kano dies super early. Scorpion says the two things that Scorpion says.
Get over here! Come here!
And then just dies. And Sub-Zero is killed by water. Water that Liu winds up like 7 times to throw. Subby just watches him swing this over and over, but I guess just doesn't react. Then Goro kills the good guy fighter Art Lean, and audiences were devastated. How could they kill off Art Lean, beloved character?
I guess that they were not concerned with ticking off Art's humongous fan base.
Finish him!
Yeah, I know, we all feel the same way, Sonya. Who would have expected that they would have killed off Art?
But seriously, Goro looks great, and I'd be willing to bet that this will look 100 times better than whatever CG version they have in the new one. Johnny does the thing, because one thing that this movie does well is fan service, like anything you were saying from the game that you would hope that they would do in the movie, they do.
Except the one thing that made the game famous. The gore.
Goro dies really easily, and they go to Outworld where the Emperor lives and Reptile becomes a guy, thank goodness, instead of the PlayStation 1 animation that he was. Liu Kang and Shang Tsung face off, with Liu winning the tournament and saving the world, but somehow Shao Kahn comes through anyway, setting up a sequel, because you remember what I said about cheating and why he just didn't do it? I guess he just did it, because the whole 10 tournaments in a row thing doesn't make sense anyway. It did get a sequel, and 2 years later with 1997's Mortal Kombat Annihilation, a comically terrible film. It starts with a recap of the previous film and then picks up immediately where the last one left off, so still in 1994. Liu and Katana are back, as is a recast Sonya and Johnny, and we meet new villains Motaro, I guess Ermac, Rain, Shiva, and finally Khan himself. Raiden is back, also recast into Dexter's dad, and then Sindel shows up.
You're alive. Too bad you will die.
Oh. That's the kind of movie that we are now?
Everyone's costumes look like they're from the Spirit Halloween store, and they just randomly kill Cage and start to merge Earth and Outworld. Khan is the judge from Buffy, and I guess this guy's name is Chinook, and this is Smoke, and man, the characters from the later combat games are just kind of like a bunch of randos, huh? There's a new good guy Sub-Zero, and seriously, look at this costume. And I guess that Scorpion is back too, for absolutely no reason. And a new Jax, now with robot arms, and I guess Cyrax. And that's pretty much this movie. They go from place to place, meet new characters for a few seconds, and then fight. Like Nightwolf here, who introduces animalities because they really needed to be introduced. But hey, where's the babalities? Come on now. And then there's Jade, and then Melina, and oh, this thing that actually looks worse than Reptile, if that's possible. And then we finally get Baraka, like multiples actually. And it turns out that Raiden and Khan are brothers, and Rady is killed, and everyone has their big showdowns. The goodies win with Liu transforming into his animality, which is just ridiculous.
Impressive.
No, it's not.
Khan then turns into his own hilarious mess of pixels, and we watch this, and this was in a movie in theaters. People took time out of their days to go to a theater, pay money, and sit there for 90 minutes, and this is what they saw. This. Liu wins, so more bad effects happen, and Earth is restored, as is Raiden. The second film was so hated that a third film was cancelled, although there were several animated features, the first of which came out around the same time as the first film and was called Mortal Kombat: The Journey Begins. It's basically the same storyline as the live-action film, which sort of follows the game story, and then there was a 25-year gap until 2020's Mortal Kombat Legends: Scorpion's Revenge, which isn't connected to the earlier film, creating its own reboot as well. There was also one season of a live-action TV show back in 1998, 1 year after Annihilation, which was a pretty low-budget thing, but somehow managed to look as good, if not a little better, than the second film. Since the show was cancelled, it ended on a cliffhanger, so the show ends with Shao Kahn basically killing Kung Lao and taking over Earth, and I guess killing like the entire cast. It's pretty depressing. There was also a pretty well-received web series back in 2011 called Mortal Kombat Legacy, which was sort of a more realistic take on the franchise, which featured some well-known faces like Michael Jai White and Jerry Ryan, and also Casper Van Dien as Johnny Cage. It lasted for 2 seasons and 19 episodes, and then was fairly cool. Also, very soon after you watch this video, there will be the premiere of the brand new Mortal Kombat movie, which is once again a reboot of the entire thing, this time promising quite a bit of bloody gore scenes for the fatalities. We'll see if that actually matters and if the plot actually matters. It seems as if all of the major characters are in the film except for Johnny Cage, although there is a mysterious character, much like Art Lean, who is just there to be there, and it appears as if he is being set up to possibly be Johnny Cage, but I guess we'll find out in a few weeks.
So there you have it. It's 2 movies that actually, I mean, they have continuity. The continuity does actually make sense, sort of. There's a little bit of funny business on between the ending of the first one and the beginning of the second one, but overall, I mean, it works in terms of continuity. I don't know if I've ever seen a 2-movie series that was this disjointed. The first and second movie just do not feel related. The second movie is so cheesy and ridiculous, and it's still crazy fun to watch just because of how goofy that it is. The first movie was actually still pretty fun to watch. It feels very dated. It feels very 90s-ish, like late 90s, that whole era of filmmaking, especially with the terrible effects. The effects did not age well whatsoever. But both of these were an enjoyable watch. There's no story. There's really not much in the way of characters or anything like that. So don't be expecting any sort of that. You're watching a video game on screen. And this is a pretty accurate representation of those video games. It's just people meet up, fight, on to the next one. Yeah. So, I don't know, if you enjoyed these and you're looking forward to that new one, let me know down below in the comments. Leave me as many comments as you like. And also, please like this video and subscribe it to the channel. Hit that little bell so that you get the notifications of when we get the new stuff up. And then check out the Patreon page at patreon.com/movietimelines. These guys did, and they're awesome for doing so. And I thank them very, very much for helping to contribute. Support this channel and keep it going and keep these videos coming. And speaking of videos, you're going to see another one very, very soon. So I hope you're ready, and we'll see you very shortly for another great one. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.